This podcast is rated R for restricted. Under 17 requires accompanying parent or adult guardian. Mission 250.
Welcome to the Mission 250 Filmcast, where we are watching the best movies ever made according to IMDb. Our website is mission250filmcast.com. Our list is frozen there. You can see what movies are coming up next and all the previous episodes. I'm one of our hosts, Stanley, and joining me are
John?
And Timmy Buckles.
Oh, crap. TC's out this week.
Where is he? I don't know where he is. Fuck. Well, I'm back. I don't know who that was.
Okay, good. Jesus. That scared me there for a minute. This week, we are watching number 87, which is the 1987 movie Full Metal Jacket, directed by Stanley Kubrick.
Wow, is that really? That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
The synopsis of this movie is: a pragmatic U.S. Marine observes the dehumanizing effects the Vietnam War has on his fellow recruits, from their brutal boot camp training to the bloody street fighting in Hue?
Sure.
Hue?
I don't know.
I don't know how to pronounce that.
I'm even gonna try to pronounce that.
I don't know how to pronounce that. And
Hugh.
This week, it is TC's turn to go first.
Ah, fuck. I thought I was on this podcast. No, so Full Metal Jacket.
Don't want to hear about Timmy.
Yeah, fuck off, Timmy. Yeah, get back to work. This movie is, it's tense. I forgot kind of how tense this was. I think mainly because I watched it as a younger youth, a young lad. I think I watched it in college for the first time.
The uncut or the television version?
No, the uncut, like I think we
Actual.
someone owned it. Yeah, so
Okay.
it was at a friend's house. Yeah, I don't. You know, what's funny is I think as I get into the older age, I'm starting to lump these war movies together, and I'm like, that's not this movie. Right?
Oh, it's all just blending in? Like,
yeah, right.
like-
Because there's a lot of the same type of acting from like Apocalypse Now to this.
No,
and,
I did exactly the same thing. I thought, and it may be that exact snipe. I thought that sniper scene was somewhere else. But maybe
Right.
it's in
I thought the
another
machine
movie.
gunning scene where he's mowing down the Viet Cong or whatever, and
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute.
some!
Yeah, get some. Yeah,
Get some. Yeah, get some. Yeah,
I thought, whenever I watch this movie, I'm like, oh yeah, that was in this Vietnam War movie. That's not the other ones.
Yeah.
Not the other one. And then there's Saving Private Ryan. There's a sniper in that one too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, is that one that has? Maybe that's the one.
Yeah,
I
The
have.
Hurt Locker has
yeah.
a sniper in it.
Hurt
Yeah.
Locker.
No,
Yeah,
is it where they do like the trap? You know, where they wound the one guy? Is that happen in Saving Private Ryan too? Don't go out there. I hate that feeling. So it's like,
that is a
oh,
shitty feeling.
Yeah,
There's
it
no doubt about
bothers
that.
me. I'm sure that, not that I don't have sympathy for the people in the film, but, I hate that. And it's like, oh, it's this feeling. It's the sniper trap feeling. Great. I hate that one.
And they're sending the African American first. Of course they are, right?
Sure.
Jesus Christ.
8 Ball. Go out there.
8 Ball. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you asked the 8 ball.
Oh, my God.
You got a question. You asked the 8 ball. It's a Seinfeld reference. Trying to lighten the mood. So this is a tough one. I think, it's a fucking fantastic movie. Private Joker is one of the better characters, in a war movie I think I've had the pleasure of watching. Private Snowball is just probably the loudest screamer I've ever witnessed.
Yeah, he's
right?
pretty loud.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I've never experienced anything like that.
Does that make him a better soldier because he does that, or is that like annoyingly too loud?
I think it's just because of boot camp. I think it's annoyingly too loud. Right? Yeah. I don't remember what the old guy's name is that plays the drill sergeant, but boy, is he a perfect drill sergeant, huh? Was he a drill sergeant?
He was. Yes,
was.
He actually
It was
was.
his
That
first
makes
movie
sense.
he was ever in. He was, we can talk about that.
Was
in a
it?
bit.
I thought he was in another movie or something before this, and they thought he
Nope.
might be too nice.
First time
but
on
no.
camera.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He didn't even need to read lines, I'm sure, because he knew all the shit already, right?
Yep.
Yeah, well, they trained him though. They put him through paces where they would like throw tennis balls at him while he had to say the lines, so that because they
Oh,
wanted him to
wow.
not be distracted.
Right.
So
right. I
they
can see
like-
that. I can see that.
Yeah, they didn't.
Where'd
want
you
him
read
to,
that,
like,
John?
ever
I got
break.
some. I got some problems with the trivia in this movie because some of them are false, and I didn't hear
is it?
that
Well,
anywhere.
you know me.
credible.
I have my one goddamn source.
Ha,
That's
wiki.
all.
Wiki.
You got the wiki.
I would honestly say don't necessarily trust that. I watched a lot of
All
special
right.
features on this movie. That's a pretty cool story. I didn't hear that.
Okay.
Oh, well, because that's why, isn't it?
I will defer to you,
Yeah.
who spent 5 minutes doing research.
Thank you. Yes. I earned the right by wasting my time more than you did.
Yeah. Well,
Per usual.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you get it, John. I spent time on this, and he's like,
Do this
yeah, I don't.
Wikipedia. this is common knowledge. When it's there, it means everybody agreed on it. Okay, just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it's not true.
That's always true.
That's true. That's true.
That's
And
true.
it could be true, but it probably isn't. Is all I'm saying.
Leprechauns, you think they don't exist? Have you ever not seen one for sure?
Not seen one. What does that mean?
Yeah,
See,
it's double
you never
negative.
know.
It's positive things.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Just because you haven't seen one doesn't mean they don't actually exist guarding their Lucky Charms.
Right. No, they actually eat Lucky Charms with Bigfoot.
That's
and,
true.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So there we go. And they all met at boot camp.
Yeah.
So I was literally, I came home and this was one of my well-rested nights, so I was actually excited to watch this movie. And I had slept the night before pretty like 8 or 9 hours. So I came home rested, work day was whatever. So I came home, sat down, and I was more tense after this than I was from coming home from work. And, for the listeners out there, John and Denny just got an earful with stuff I won't talk about, but it was very intense. This made me more tense than that. So I think I think there's something that breaks when the psychotic break happens with Private Pyle. And he goes from smirking to like that underbite.
He goes to horror show, the Jack Nicholson look.
That just oh fuck, man. I get visibly nervous at that point.
Yeah.
And Private Joker there is a Joker, but he really did. I think they did a great job of like that juxtaposition of like them, being nice friends and Joker always fucking messing about to being like a psychotic break, and his friend that's usually a Joker is petrified. So much so that he doesn't even know to run anymore, right? Like
he's frozen. Yeah, totally frozen. And you can
totally
see him shaking and shit. Like it's really awesome.
Yeah,
that scene is fucking incredible.
Isn't it? It is. And then it's followed up by probably one of the most gruesome headshot explosions
the most
I think I've ever seen.
I would say the most.
Right?
Ugh.
There's nothing else. Like what else is like that? Right?
I don't know. I mean, you have to watch it.
Apparently, people walked out of theaters when they saw that the first time.
And it sucks because that's when the movie starts, really.
Kind of. It's when the movie ends, maybe.
Well, no, but yeah, like it began, like that's just the beginning of like the war, and that was just boot camp, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what they're trying to say by that. It's like this happened in boot camp, which, mind you, isn't actually that difficult in the sense of like you get through it. Most people get through it. It's not like it's not SEALs training would be more difficult, right? Boot camp is kind of like that's normal infantry stuff. Like that's not
you jog around, you learn how to use a gun. That's basically all you do.
And you get learn
not
how
to downplay
train.
how hard it is. Shit, I should
No,
have
we're
said
not
that.
marginalizing that. It's the sense that like it's very basic, just like restructuring of how you look at things, right? Like it's organization, doing things in unison, making sure like you can focus on just the thing you're doing and not be mindful of other things while it's happening. That's what boot camp's supposed to get you. It's not supposed to like make you into a psychotic break that you murder yourself in the bathroom.
Well,
right?
you're supposed to. I mean, there was, I guess, and just making things up here, sort of. But the idea was you're supposed to harden them, sort of make them like they're protected.
And you kind of have to, right?
Yeah,
and you do, right? Because you have to get prepared for the war,
right? Which is kind of like I thought, like that's
yeah.
the whole. That's the title of the film. It's like Full Metal Jacket. Like that's like the casing around the bullet to make it more of an effective weapon.
But I think they just do he does a great job of just saying like, this is not the hard part, guys. Like this, like you're not going to die while you're here at boot camp, right? Like you're not supposed to die in boot camp. You're going to war. That's where you might die, not in boot camp. I think it's just it was just an amazing buildup of using this thing called boot camp to then basically say like, sometimes in life, things are actually more dangerous when they're not supposed to be, right? And then when they get there, they follow these characters that don't necessarily go right to war, right? Like Joker's a photographer. The same kind of thing happens to him, right? Like he's not supposed to be going to war, and now all of a sudden it's all hands on deck, right?
Because he made a stupid joke. He's got to shut his mouth sometimes.
Well, no, the CO was getting at was, this is not an option, guys. We're all going.
Oh, really? I thought he sent Joker out to like a dangerous part because he made like a wisecrack or something.
No, he had to be the forefront, but all of them were going to be going there. That's what he meant by that. This is all hands on deck, guys.
Okay.
This is not like we're done here. This is not you guys go over there, you guys will go over
and
here.
their safe little camp
Joker.
also got attacked in the middle of the night.
Got
Like
attacked,
it's not
right.
good.
No, it's not. But Joker, you're going first because you're an asshole. But we're all going because we all have to fight. Like we have to go and fight. That's where we're at in this war now because we're about to lose. So I think they just do a good job of like the war isn't the focal point here as much as it could be. It's the like this crazy psychological effects of being in all of the parts of war that can destroy one person, right? And it's fucking, and that's why it's so tense because it's like this. I kept thinking like, and this is what I meant, John, earlier about like being like kind of lost. Like I'm like, all right, Apocalypse Now, like they go right to the war, and then the thing happens, and Saving Private Ryan, like they're just walking through the town. This one doesn't do that. Like you don't end up into the war until the movie's almost over.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of other bad shit happens. It's a fucking tense watch. It's not something. And now I remember as a younger, I think maybe in high school, and like this is why nobody showed kids this movie, right? Because it's way more than just the war. It's like all of the mind fuck shit that happens in preparation for the war, being around the war, being close to people that are at war. Dealing with, an insurgency amongst people you're trying to help, which is basically every war that we've been alive for, right? It's a fucked up movie, and I don't know if I'm going to watch it again on purpose.
Yeah,
right.
I had the same thought actually when I finished this movie. I was like, that was entirely unpleasant watching that.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
It's entirely unpleasant. So it does its job. I'm not necessarily sure I'm enlisting, if you will, on purpose, just to go to this movie, which is also kind of a war in itself. So,
I like that. That sounded pre-thought out. That was so good.
Yeah, it was. That's pretty good.
I have moments of brilliance, and we'll get to Timmy in a minute.
Yeah.
So, this is a tough one. I think that we're lucky too in the sense that like the production value of this movie is really damn well put together as well. So
fucking amazing.
And the audio here and there has some interesting choices for Foley where they choose only to do like one or two people running. I'm not sure what that is about. I think it's so you focus on one character.
Yeah,
or
I think
two
so.
characters.
I noticed that too, and I kind of like it because it definitely distracts you in a weird way.
Yes, but in a way that you're like, oh, I'm following the guy that's running, that's the yelling, and the one he's looking at, which is either Pyle or Cowboy or the photographer, right?
Yeah.
And you don't realize that until like the later part of the movie when Pyle's dead and there's only Cowboy and Joker left, and you're like, oh, those were the focal points from the beginning, and they're subtly driving you there with sound and visuals. And this is a fucking movie. I don't know. This is a damn good movie. I'm a big fan of it, but also not a fan of it in the sense that I would keep watching this over and over again. And I guess I'm going to leave that as succinct as I can. That's pretty much all I have for this one. So
Nice.
What did you guys think?
My opinion is very similar to TC's, John. Do you want me to like pile on, or is yours different?
Mine's different, but I think it's my fault.
Okay, so I'll pile on with TC just to keep the ideas aligned.
John,
for a minute.
this is why we love you, man. Just that statement alone of just like, I'm uneasy about my opinion because it might be me. That is not most people in the world, right? So
yeah,
that's great. So let's hear it, Denny.
So yeah, I don't know. This movie is very upsetting to watch. Most war movies, I think, have a lot of entertainment value to them. Like even Saving Private Ryan is polished and story driven enough where it gives you like the Hollywood moments in there where you have like a nice quiet conversation where you're kind of like, oh, this is kind of nice right now. This movie doesn't have any of that shit. Like that doesn't exist. It is bleak. It's dark. It's kind of depressing. It's like it's dirt. Well, I wouldn't say it's dirty, but it's cold. You know what I mean? Like even when the bathroom is clean, it's you don't want to be there. The bases are dusty and lived in, and there's mud all over the place, and things are on fire, and like the villages are all like it's all terrible. There's not one moment in the movie where I feel comfortable sitting where they've put me. You know what I mean? And most other war movies, they let you have those little relief periods. And even thinking about a movie like,
or they want you to feel like the brotherhood or the victory or whatever, the sort of positive aspect.
Or even the boredom.
or even
Right.
the boredom
Yeah.
of it. They're like there's a different angle they're playing for the war, which is not done in this one. So
Yeah.
I understand what you're getting at.
And even movies like Platoon, which are kind of dark and bleak and like pretty violent and kind of similar in a lot of ways, but it's not as bleak. Like there's still friendships that seem like there's still bravery and like there's a good feeling behind it somehow.
Right. And Platoon still had a Hollywood kind of story about the crazy.
It was a little overly dramatic. Like that shot of Defoe
yeah.
at the end is pretty Hollywood. And
Right.
yeah, this one doesn't have any of that. Even like Come and See, I was trying to compare it to like a really bleak war movie.
Oof.
Come and See is a really bleak war movie, but it's not about characters and like what it is for a person to be going through a war. It was more just like showing you what horrible things could happen in a war.
Right.
This one's about
It was
people.
also a different perspective of like this is like the Come and See was more like kind of almost on the civilian side, sort of like the other side where
Right.
they're not.
But you still
they're
didn't
not
feel for the
soldiers.
character too much. You know, you were kind of
Right.
just like, whoa, this is horrible. You weren't like, I feel terrible for this kid. You're like, war is awful, basically.
Right.
This one's like, I feel terrible for everybody involved in this situation. And I think, I don't know why, but I don't know. There's a lot of like, I agree with the message behind it, only because I'm probably pretty ignorant about war and things like that. But the bullying and the alpha maleness and all that stuff, it makes sense that would be necessary for war, because you're going back to basic, like being apes. I don't know how to describe it. Like you're basically just like strongest person survives. Like the big guy was an Animal, like Sergeant Animal or whatever the hell his name is, the Baldwin character.
Yeah.
He was the man because he could murder and not be phased, and he was huge, and he could take on anyone, and he had the biggest gun, and he was the man. And, and it kind of went like that, like he bullied people around. The reason that Pyle got bullied is because he was fat. It's like we all learned that's bad. But if you're going to go into a ditch with a bunch of people, you want a guy that can pick you up and run pretty fast and be able to think by himself and take care of himself and all that stuff.
And be ballsy enough to make those decisions without thinking.
Right.
And be making the correct ones the whole time because he's so sure of himself.
Right.
Yeah,
and I mean, I
don't
know how else you teach somebody to be violent. And I mean, I guess they kind of succeeded because they did teach him to be violent. But, I guess for some type of people, it's like they're just not made for it. Like he definitely couldn't have handled it either way. Like if he had not been broken, then he would have, wimped out and hidden a hole the entire war, which probably would have gotten some of his team killed. But, the other way is he loses his goddamn mind, kills somebody and kills himself. Like,
right.
And there's probably no way to tell that because you don't have psychologists in the freaking army barracks, like checking people out to make sure everyone's okay. I mean, you might now.
No,
maybe.
you do. Yeah. Now again, they don't do that stuff so much nowadays.
But I mean, they weren't there for the draft. They were,
Right.
It seems like they were there
that's
because
another
they wanted
piece.
to be there.
That's another piece of this too, though, is that that these are. I mean, they didn't tell you where they came from. They didn't tell you the origin stories of how they got to the military. I don't think a single one of them. Right. We learn why they're there, and
that's true.
So you assume it's drafted.
You assume that? I assumed it wasn't drafted.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I mean, in the time, and that's most of how they got there then, right? In Vietnam.
I think a lot of people enlisted. Like initially, people got enlisted.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought the draft. I mean, that's then. But then they were calling your name out on the TV.
Well, yeah, that did happen, but like that part got ugly.
But that was near the end, is what I'm saying. The end of the war, which is where they were at, is because everything was being taken over and they were going to declare it a loss, was when everyone was being drafted.
Yeah, that's a good point. They probably were drafted. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought
that they
otherwise.
said is that.
I've always thought they were
just because like what John just said, they didn't touch on it.
Yeah,
they didn't touch on it a bit, which is really interesting. That's also something you don't see in your typical war movie. It's like you get like where are you from, kid? Whatever. No, nothing. There's nothing.
Yeah.
About their origins.
Well, they do. Isn't Private Snowball from Texas? Didn't they say that?
Oh yeah, you get that one.
one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you get
Snowball's
one.
from Texas. The sergeant calls him out.
Yeah,
right?
Only
steers are
queers come from Texas. Yeah.
So it's there
you
just
don't
to
look like
berate
much
him.
of a steer.
But it's nothing.
How tall
it's
are you,
nothing
Private
about,
Pyle?
Yeah,
I didn't know they
it's
stack
not-
shit that high.
I love that one. That's great. That's fucking great.
But it's nothing about him personally. Even it's just where
No.
he's from, but not like why he's there. Anything.
Right. And I think so. I think this movie, I don't know, Stanley Kubrick doesn't talk about his movies. And I think that's a really smart thing to do because I think this movie is pretty flawed. But I think that since he doesn't talk about it and everyone thinks about him so highly that you can explain away the flaws in the movie by saying that he
How's this movie flawed, soldier?
Why is it flawed?
Yeah,
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Because
What?
the
No.
first half is better than the second half.
ask you a question. Did not that sound like a question?
Because the first half is way better than the second half by a lot. It's more intense. It's got better scenes in it. It's got better quotable dialogue. It's more entertaining, and it's scarier. It's all the things.
Which
I
is
agree.
the purpose.
I definitely agree with that.
Right.
Like,
But then
yeah.
it cuts after the most intense, like one of the most intense scenes ever. It cuts to like boots are made for walking and some Vietnamese prostitute. And it just really, really throws you off guard.
I see. You're saying like basically it peaked too early.
Yes. And the second half also, like the first half is narratively coherent. Like you follow somebody's narrative. Like maybe this is why people explain it away because Stanley Kubrick did something different and he's brilliant for it. That's fine. But I think it's because he didn't know what he was doing in the second half and he just pieced together seemingly bunch of different set pieces, it seemed like. But you could also explain that away by saying that that's what war is like and feeling disjointed and having random shit happen to you is what war is.
And with no resolve.
Right.
With no resolve.
Yeah.
It could be, but I agree that I definitely felt like that it felt like all of a sudden we were in a different movie or everything just shifted over.
But that's what war is, John, right? You could just say that. That's what war is. But I don't agree with that. I mean, that's a really good way to explain it away. And if you can buy that, that's great. But I've seen this movie a bunch of times. And
I lost my connection with, I didn't feel the same connection with the characters.
I didn't either.
That I was like, and it still doesn't. It doesn't mean that those war scenes weren't intense and well done
and beautifully shot. And the sets are amazing. The scale of it all is incredibly
It's impressive.
awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
But it didn't have that same. And again, you could argue it's like, well, see, we prepared you. See, we even prepared the audience for war. We got to war, and it wasn't as intense as what boot camp was.
Right.
So there you go. Right.
So maybe boot camp worked really well. Maybe that's the point there.
Yeah, even for the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I still think it's to show that it's when you don't expect it to be bad is when it's bad, right? Like Joker didn't expect to have to go to the front line and fight.
And you expect like a war movie to have a big battle with a bunch of guns, but really it's just one little girl sniping the team members.
Yeah, and boy, is she a scary one when she comes around carrying that fucking thing.
The ending too, I don't like the ending. Them marching, singing the Mickey Mouse theme song. I just don't like it. I think it's stupid.
That was strange.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I forgot that's how it ended, and I was just like, oh right, that's the end of the movie.
And then also it's Private Joker talking about how he's like he feels like a little kid and like he's having wet dreams, and then I don't even know what that is about.
Well, no, the other that was very strange. The other weird thing is when the narration kicked in too. That was really strange. Like when because you didn't hear any narration throughout book, and then all of a sudden there's narration, and it's just and it's sort of this mild sort of talking of Joker is strange, and it was a really weird at the end where he's like he's not scared of dying, and so now he's happy. He's really a man now. It's like. What? So this was all good?
Yeah.
This is.
I mean, when you put it that way, kinda.
Oof.
At least for them.
I mean, for them, I mean, he was scared.
There were people that were veterans that were like, I love this place. Like, I love Vietnam, sort of thing. So maybe he's one of them now that's just addicted to war.
But,
yeah, right. Or or they just that was their big growing up point.
Right, you face your fear, and if you're not afraid of that anymore, then
what are you afraid of?
You can take on anything, I guess. Right.
And that's the point I thought of the song as they skip along. It's like, no, we've been through the shit now.
Mickey Mouse,
forever.
We'll hold our banner high.
Yeah, we're gonna fucking move on. And we're gonna sing cartoons because we don't give a shit.
So weird,
That's
man.
fair.
Yeah,
so weird. And I mean, it's weird because we just watched 2001, and the end of 2001's it comes out of nowhere, and it's super weird. But there's meaning behind it. There's definite meaning and story and intent behind it. This one, I get the feeling that they didn't know what to do. They ran out of ideas.
This one feels like it does sort of feel like this was kind of edited together almost, or it feels like two different movies, and which is really strange. But even the war stuff doesn't feel like there's a thread there to follow through. They're kind of jumping around. You have different scenes with different things happening, and again, that's what war is. Whatever, fine.
Right?
But
that's the argument. And people that have been to Vietnam are like, this is. I mean, people have their own opinions, but a lot of people think that this one does the best job of realistically portraying what it was like to be in Vietnam.
I'm not going to complain then.
Wow.
I mean, but it doesn't feel. It's what's different is that the first half or so is it half?
It's half and half. Yeah,
it's half and half. So it's the first half. Just even though it and maybe just because it's isolated in one place, but it seems to have much more of a coherent thread. Everything is leading up to the suicide, And it just feels like this is, this is like a well-crafted sort of like set piece of how this all ends up happening.
And it has the two best actors in the movie, and they're gone in the second half, which is very disappointing.
That is true.
I always find myself like trying to get back into the movie in the second half, but then they bring in when Private Joker goes to the like the ditch full of dead Vietnamese people, and it's the other sergeant that's trying to be a hard sergeant, and he's 10 times worse as an actor. Like it's noticeably worse where he's trying to kind of do the same thing.
And it's not necessarily that guy's bad. It's just in contrast.
Right. And the fact that he's doing it again, you know what I mean? It just, I don't know. It's like, oh man, this part's worse. Like this is definitely worse. Noticeably right here. Like I was confused before this because I was like, I'm not enjoying this as much. I wonder why that is. Probably because it takes a while to get into this part, but you never really get into it, and it lasts for an hour, and then it ends with a Mickey Mouse song.
Yeah, that's true.
But like, I'm talking shit on it, but it's extremely tense the entire time, and that's what they're intending on doing, and it looks amazing. And I think the acting is awesome. Like, I think the best shot of Joker's acting is when the sniper's firing at him, and he's behind the pillar, and he's just like trying to load his gun and shaking, basically. Like that is fucking terrifying. Like, it's really awesome how he does that. I mean, there's great parts throughout, but just narratively, I'm disappointed, because they give you I think it's just because they give you something that's awesome, and then it doesn't have that in the second half. You know what I mean? So it feels empty. That sounds pretty bad. But John, what did you think?
That makes sense.
You talked yourself down.
I did. No, this is what I thought. I'm pretty conflicted on this one. I mean, I definitely, not to spoil it, this one definitely deserves to be on the list, I think, but it's definitely not enjoyable, and it's pretty flawed, I think.
I feel like it. I definitely feel that way too, but I don't know. Again, maybe that's kind of the, again, you can get all meta and say, yeah, it's the point. War is flawed, Denny.
Do you like it or dislike it, John? I'm confused. I don't know what you.
I was detached. I don't know if I'm just protecting myself, and I just wasn't willing to let myself like get engaged in it. But I watched it, and I was going to blame like Kubrick and be like, this guy's like Hitchcock. You can't really connect to his human characters because he's not human himself hardly.
Fair point.
But I don't know if it's fair. Like hearing you guys talk about it, like, it was well done. And I was very engaged too with the boot camp scenes and I'm going to say his name wrong. Vincent. How do you say his last name?
Vincent D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio?
Yeah.
He was his scene where he gets beaten with the soap and he's crying after that. Holy shit. That scene was it was heart-wrenching and just so, oh my God. The way his character was the best. I mean, he
agreed.
Again,
and even though like the general is quoted the most, his character was the best for sure.
No, it's again like the match between the two, just like in that first scene in Inglourious Bastards. It's the combination of those two that makes it so amazing. Like the sergeant railing on him and Pyle being so emotionally like disturbed by this. At very first scene where he's kind of smirking because he's kind of a goofball baby, right? You kind of think that he's just maybe he's a fun-loving guy or whatever.
I'm confused by that scene.
Program.
Is he just uncomfortable or what's going on?
He's uncomfortable.
There?
Yeah. I think he's just uncomfortable. I think that he just, I certainly know people like that. And I'm not sure. I don't know. I know it's really creepy and scary how he goes like Jack Nicholson.
Oh, you don't like it?
Teeth,
damn
roll
it.
your eyes. This is going. I don't know how to say this. I don't know if that's when people really lose their mind. If that's what they look like,
they do if they angle the camera correctly towards them, John.
I guess maybe so. But it just sort of it took me out of it a little bit because it felt more horror show than necessarily. And I can be entirely wrong. I just think you might see more of just a blank stare when somebody is that out of their mind. You're not necessarily see them grimacing. You might just see them go stone cold blank stare when they're about to do something really crazy. But I don't know. I mean, to me, it just felt more like I all of a sudden I was in a horror show.
I mean, it was. I kind of agree. It's probably not the most realistic, but man, did it portray a feeling.
It's still effective. And also, it's just there's a real Jack because he does the exact same kind of shot with Jack Nicholson in The Shining, and you have the same kind of like showing the bottom teeth and the eyes doing it. It's really like. I don't know. You should get like a side-by-side comparison.
They do that in Clockwork Orange too.
Oh, do they? Oh, yeah, you're right. I thought, there's more like grinning there. but you're right.
Well, it's like a
that's
sinister
maybe-
grin. Yeah.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
teeth.
It's a favorite of Kubrick. Like you have that low camera angle, maybe, and then
I'm
you
not
have
complaining,
that
man. I
sinister
think it looks
look.
pretty fucking cool each time he does
No.
it.
Yeah. Oh well,
Personally.
on Clockwork Orange, that's a whole other story. But anyway, how do you say it again?
D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio is amazing. I just think his performance in this whole thing is it's not a common kind of character to play, and he does it amazingly well. And I really cared for him an awful lot, and was just really like a very emotional scene where he's crying after getting beat up, and they has Joker is the one that sort of like lands the final blows there too,
because he really wants to help him. He thinks that's the only way he can help him. He's like the only person who is helping him, and he decided that like, man, he's not learning. We need to like motivate him, basically, right? Is what he says.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's by hitting him the most, that's him trying to help.
Right?
I think, which is pretty weird. Saying I like that. I mean, that's pretty good storytelling.
It's also just they're trying to really get this point across about like how they're trying to toughen each other up, and if they're really buying into that. But then again, once we got to the war stuff, and the narration kicked in, and I just got really detached. And again, I might have been too, because I just don't really, it's like Tuesday night. I just got the kids to bed. I don't know. Just like
showing all your cards, John. Jeez.
So I know. I'm sorry, but I'm just at some point I'm just like I don't need this. And so that's what makes me think I'm like, maybe I'm just kind of walking myself back from it a little bit and being like, I'm just going to distance myself here. I don't really want to, So I think that might have something to do with it, because it is kind of, again, meticulously done. The war footage is again really meticulously done. The shots of the soldiers and how they do it. I even like too that there's like showing camera shots of a cameraman walking around by the soldiers. Although I didn't like how they all spoke sequentially. I
kind of liked it. Like they probably are fantasizing about being war heroes. And they probably have their own little catchphrase, like, "Oh man, if they ever bring one of those cameras around, which I know they do sometimes, I'm going to say this in the short period of time."
But it's so organized where one gets to have his say, and then the other one stops, and then the other one has his say, and I don't know. It seemed, maybe it was staged. Maybe that's the idea. It's like, I don't
know. They were firing tanks and stuff. I don't think they would like synchronize tank fire for a camera
strange.
shot.
It seemed too organized. And then the other shot where someone died and you get to go around the circle and everybody gets to say their piece also seemed to, again, it was the same, another like, oh, here we go around the circle. Everybody say their thing, guys. Okay, me first. No, how about you first? Okay, I went first last time. I'll go first this time. And then we go to the left we go to the right.
Are you talking about the scene where they're talking about how he got in trouble for jacking off in the
No, they're all like, somebody died and everybody gets to say their thing about the guy who died.
That's what they're saying. Yeah. They talked about how the guy was about to get off because he jerked off in like a doctor's office or something like that.
Right. There was well, no, that wasn't, they weren't talking around in the circle at that point. They were saying much shorter things when they were going around the circle, like better you than me is how that ends up. And there's a number of other ones. But anyway. So I hear what you guys are saying too, and I can't really deny that this is it's a pretty amazing film, and again a lot of even though the second half is disorganized, there's still a lot of thought that was put into this, and that's one of the really amazing things about Kubrick and
effort. I'd say more than anything, like the amount of effort put into everything.
Right.
Is
Yeah, that's
visible.
even better word. I agree. And that's where coming after 2001, where it was the same kind of thing, and that's just that's something that's really valuable. It's amazing to watch that stuff and see how it holds up. How that much effort pays off, not just like immediately, but in the long run.
So, John, when you said, in the beginning of your review, it kind of sounded like you said the whole thing was you felt disconnected, but you were also disconnected in the beginning.
Well, the more
too?
I talked about it, the more I felt. Yeah, I think I was still at a distance. But even then, it really, during the scene with Private Pile, that really got to me. And I've seen this before, and I think
in a good way, right? Like you were into that scene.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
In a bad good way. Like I was really emotional, right? But yeah, so I think that I was still drawn in, and it's still pretty amazing that this setup and the way they do it and how intense they make it is just.
I think it has to do with the music too, man. Like this music is awesome. Like whenever I don't know there's a couple times in the movie where they have a song where it's just like a bass drum sound, like a stand-up marching drum, and it's a bunch of reverb. But then there's like a metal sound, like a metal bending sound.
Like almost like a water droplet kind of thing. And then there's a few different kinds of like very minimal sounds.
Yeah. So the water droplet sound is during the scene where he kills himself, and also the soap scene is like that really reverby, awesome sounding water droplet part of like. So that's those two. But then there's a part where there's like I think it's when they're looking at the bodies in the shallow grave, and then also at the end where they're trying to storm the sniper, and it sounds like a big steel bar like bending, and it's like a high pitch squeal kind of. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's like industrial, like minimalistic industrial music, and it's in this movie. It's pretty weird, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's effective. Very effective.
It's unsettling, makes you feel very uncomfortable.
Right.
All right. Is it time to go to
Roll
trivia?
Out the trivia.
Oh, trivia.
Oh, Danny. Trivia. Well, and also commentary. Which you want to do first?
They're one and the same, aren't they?
I have a small. Actually, I did run an update on the list, and there's really not much to report there as far as any changes in the IMDb.
Sweet.
So we don't really have. I think just one Indian movie that we didn't really know very much dropped out, and another Indian movie that we didn't know very much about came in. That's it.
Oh, what do you know?
Yeah.
Oh, lucky.
The last thing I might want to say, we talked about how awesome this movie looks. Every single frame of this movie has shit going on in the background. It's like a lot of the scenes are just two people talking a lot of the time, but even like in the beginning scenes, there are people even outside of the barracks. You can see them jogging through the windows. The scenes where they're just focusing on their platoon, there are people all across this giant army base playing war games and things like that everywhere. And then when you get to the war scenes, there's like smoke on the horizon. There's tanks firing shit. There's like helicopters flying in the air. Everything is on fire. There's buildings. Like, it's insane. Like, I don't know. I focus on that stuff a lot more now since this podcast, but like, can you think of a movie that we know is not digital that has this much shit going on all the time in the background? It's up there at the very least. Like, it was cool to watch. Like, that was watching it this time. That's how I got my escape from the depressing nature, like the tenseness of the movie. I just like look at the background and be like, well, it's actually pretty fucking beautiful what he did there. It must have taken a lot of hard work, a lot of extras, a lot of uniforms, a lot of coordination.
Right. And et cetera. Yeah.
But like, it was nice to like be able to escape from the sadness of the movie, basically.
Yeah.
But so, what do you think? Trivia time. I got a making of and a commentary track.
Okay.
You guys excited, huh? I was expecting some kind of cheers.
Well, I'm jumping out of my seat here, Danny.
The making of is pretty sweet. It's only 50 minutes long. They interviewed a bunch of people that worked in the movie. There was some pretty good information there. Vincent D'Onofrio had never been in anything of note before. He'd only been in like 2 TV shows and a small part in a movie. He was working as a bouncer in a Hard Rock Cafe when the guy who plays Joker, who was just recently cast, was going out to dinner, saw Vincent D'Onofrio as the bouncer, and was like, he told him about the role. He's like, dude, there's this movie, and they're looking for like someone big, and
no way, you're kidding.
So they brought, and then he's just like, all right, so what we're gonna have to do is, this guy has he has no freaking experience. Kubrick is really good at casting, apparently. I think it's pretty cool noticing like Kubrick doesn't really cast famous people, or he didn't towards well, that's not even true. Sometimes he didn't cast famous people. Like 2001, he didn't cast famous people. Clockwork Orange, he didn't cast famous people.
Right. Shining,
he did. Eyes Wide Shut, he did. Paths of Glory, he did. Spartacus, he did. Like, it's not entirely true. But in this movie, he didn't. And he picked Vincent D'Onofrio. I don't know how he does it, but that's like, he said half of directing is picking the right cast. Casting is half of directing, is what he thought. So even before they started shooting with him, he broke Robert De Niro's record of weight gain from Raging Bull. He gained 80 pounds for his role of Private Pile in this movie. And it's only since been beaten. Christian Bale beat it, but he had the record for like 20 years.
Dick.
So
whatever.
It's pretty impressive.
Wow.
And this guy wasn't even famous at all.
No, I think that he did the job that he did. Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was on both the making of and the commentary. He seemed like he thought he was going to get fired the entire time because he didn't know. Like, he was working with Stanley Kubrick.
Well, he probably had no idea if he was doing a good job or not.
Right.
He didn't know the job.
He didn't get no feedback at all.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that you can see in Kubrick's mind that this is perfect. We're going to have this guy. He's going to be like terrified, thinking he doesn't belong here. That's exactly what we want.
Yeah, I'm going to yell at him, make him feel very uncomfortable. It's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
He only told him positive things like a couple times during the entire shoot. And this was a long shoot. Wow. It was a 17-month shoot for this movie.
Holy cow.
17 months. It's over a year.
Wow.
It's insane.
That's a long time.
Yeah. What did you guys think? Where did you think they filmed this movie? Did you think about it?
No, didn't think about it.
Where would you think they filmed this movie? Do you have any thoughts at all? Is that a stupid question?
Vietnam.
Should I just tell you?
I remember hearing somewhere that they just brought a bunch of plastic plants and stuff like that. So I don't think it really was. I think it wasn't.
Dude, the
on
Wikipedia
location.
page is so wrong. They were not plastic plants.
Damn it!
They flew actual palm trees to where it was filmed.
5 minutes of my life wasted.
You know, John, jeez.
The 2001 Wikipedia page is the best one ever, and this one is full of lies.
It was. I thought it was fantastic. It really, I thought that was a good investment of 7 minutes there. And anyway, okay, carry on, Danny.
No, just to respond to that one, they flew in palm trees for those scenes. But Kubrick was, did we cover this? Where Kubrick is afraid of flying. You mentioned that. He took plane lessons when he was younger, and he learned how to fly, and he learned how dangerous it was to fly, and he never flew again. He never flew after he learned how to fly. He only went to the United States once, and it was on a ship after that. And generally, he didn't like to travel. So what they did is this was filmed in East London, near his house. He found an abandoned factory that was it was about to be demolished, but he made a deal with the people who owned it. And he's like, let me film there for an undisclosed period of time. They're like, dude, absolutely. Go ahead. Give us money. Like, this is a trash dump, basically.
Wow.
So that was all real. Those are old factories. They got to blow them up. They were going to demolish it anyway. So they just drove shit over it, blew it up. They could do whatever they wanted. Set shit on fire. It was fine.
Wow.
It was very strange.
Kind of fun, really.
Yeah, probably pretty fun. They did say that the scene that took the longest in the entire movie was when they were hiding behind the wall before like the face off with a sniper.
Right.
The shots where they were shooting at the buildings and the building was like all the little bullet holes were visible and all that stuff.
Yep.
One take was like 30 seconds. And then it took 3 days to reset all the squibs in the walls.
Oh, wow.
They were there for almost a month doing that one scene.
Oh, Jesus, man. There's some real dedication to that's just dedication. Because
people got pretty antsy. Like all the actors, obviously, just like they weren't even working that much. Like
or even the studio heads, like they're like, wait, we're still there? And they're like, yeah, dude, they, did one 30-second thing again yesterday.
Yeah. Does it look good? Well, it wasn't perfect, so we got to do it again.
Yeah. We tried to reason with him and say it was looking great, but he doesn't agree. So, we're going to need another week.
And the way he filmed this one, too, is he filmed it, so they filmed the second part first and the first part second, but they filmed each section in order. And I think he did that so they couldn't shut him down, is my guess. They didn't say that, but like he filmed it in order. They probably didn't need to do that. But to get the ending, the plans, it was supposed to be 18 months for a shoot. So 18 weeks for the shoot. 17 months is what it totals. Like that's an insane increase.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So I think he, planned it so they wouldn't be able to shut him down. That's my guess.
Right. Yeah, probably because he's not an idiot. So,
right.
Yeah.
So the Lee Ermey, I don't know how to pronounce his name. The drill sergeant guy was the technical instructor and gun instructor and trainer and drill sergeant before he was hired to play the role. He was hired because he was like an actual ex-drill sergeant, and he was brought on set to teach all of them how to use guns, how to march, how to like handle the guns. And he was also like a technical advisor to advise on whether or not what they were doing was what actual Marines would do. But in training, he would actually do the shit he does in the movie and got hired. Like they pretty much fired the other guy they had hired for the role, being like, dude, this guy is insane. He pretty much kicked the other guy off. Not pretty much. He kicked the other guy off and they had him like improvise lines, and Kubrick was like, this is gold. And then they started like writing it down, and they wanted him to do multiple takes with the lines they thought were good. But they quickly realized that he couldn't deliver the lines written like over again in the same way. So they basically had to let him improv every single scene that's in the movie, even though they did, upwards of 40 takes sometimes of the same
Holy
shot.
shit, man.
Whoa.
So this
guy's
guy,
voice must have been hoarse.
Hoarse as hell, yeah.
They said the hardest scene to film was the one where he was yelling at Private Pyle for the jelly donut. and it was 37 takes. And there were some takes that were unusable because his voice was going in and out basically as he was screaming at this guy.
Oh man.
That's crazy.
Holy shit.
It's obvious. I don't know. You'd have to be stupid to see this guy yell at people and be like, I don't want him in my movie. Like the best part of it's like one of the best parts of the movie. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can see the guy who was hired for the original drill instructor. He was the guy in the helicopter shooting all the people.
Oh, okay.
He was the original.
Get some.
Yeah, the get some guy. There was a couple scenes that were cut out due to violence in this movie. One of which was a soccer game where you see them kind of playing around and playing soccer, and eventually towards the end you realize they're playing soccer with a head of somebody.
Oh, Jesus.
So they cut that out because they thought it was like over the top violent. And then
not necessary.
Similarly, not necessary. Pretty close to the same thing at the end of the sniper scene where where Joker shoots the sniper in the head. And everyone just kind of like, dude, that's hardcore, Joker. Can't believe you did that. The animal mother guy takes a machete out and chops her head off and holds it up. And he's like, no, that's hardcore.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Removed due to graphic violence.
Yeah.
From like Kubrick took it out because he's like, that's too much.
Wow.
So one of the things that wasn't true that was trivia in a lot of places I saw was that Kubrick kept the cast from meeting the drill sergeant until they started filming. He had been working. Yep. He had been training them.
I think that was on the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, not true.
Hey, one piece that was not true again.
That's like the biggest one I saw everywhere. People were like, "Oh, it's so cool." No, it's not true. Like everybody's like, "Yeah, I was training them before. I got hired because of how good I was training them." And he's like, This is exactly what I want. It's actual training. Yeah. You're training these people to do the thing, and you're very entertaining in the way you talk. So this is perfect." Yeah. Vincent D'Onofrio blew his knee out during the shoot when he was jumping over the log. You can see it. The shots in the movie. He's trying to jump over it and he falls on the ground, and he had to be rushed to the hospital. And there's he had a brace on his leg for most of the shoot. He kind of pointed out where he had the brace on, and you could tell. And then he's like, "Oh, I was starting to heal here." Like they did a couple of stunts with him doing rope stuff, and he's like, "That was like towards the end where my knee healed up completely." Kubrick hurting people again.
Oh man.
D'Onofrio could tear down and put together a gun blindfolded quickly due to the training from this movie.
Wow.
They really trained him.
They really did.
They did the soap take where they're hitting him with soap 11 times.
Those look like real hits.
They did, but they were full of foam, apparently.
Oh, okay.
So good audio there.
Yeah. Oof.
2 more. The head scene, the scene where he kills himself, was done in only 3 takes, which is not normal for Kubrick, but apparently D'Onofrio is just killing it. So,
damn.
And also the Vietnam set also built in East London. So all that, like that city scene where they're, being solicited by the prostitute.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, all the cars, all the people in the background, the billboards, the streets, all that stuff was built from scratch.
Damn.
Which is insane. Because they could have just gone somewhere. Yeah, you really couldn't have known. It looked so good.
It did. It did. That was not, I was none the wiser. Put it that way.
That's all I got, you guys.
Wow.
Oof.
Hell of a movie.
I'm glad to never have to watch this movie again.
Me
that's
too.
What's going to happen.
That's right.
But, TC, would you put this in the top 250 movies of all time?
Oh, yeah.
John, would you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah.
Timmy, did you have anything specific on that?
Why is drunk ass Timmy in my bar?
What? I don't know. I think Timmy would definitely agree. Yeah.
Timmy was born to kill.
Timmy was a bouncer.
I was born to drink. I'm at war, guys.
I am become booze. Is that
I become booze. I become booze. He says, fuck you, asshole.
Right. Yep. That's right.
Yeah. All right, guys. I feel noticeably calmer after having to go through that episode. It's good.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah.
Next week, we are watching one that I was forced to watch like 15 minutes of in school one time. It's Amadeus from 1984.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm, you ever heard of this one, TC?
Not off the top of my head.
Oscar winner.
The life, success, and troubles of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, as told by Antonio Salieri, the contemporaneous composer who is insanely jealous of Mozart's talent and claimed to have murdered him. What? That's a spoiler right there. Jesus.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, I guess I knew he was dead, so I guess that's not too bad.
That's fair, too. They're all dead.
They're all dead. Damn, that sucks, huh? This movie won 8 Oscars. That's a lot. quite a bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Fucking A, man.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for this episode. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah.
Our website is mission250filmcast.com. You can rate and like us on your favorite podcast app. We're on Facebook and Twitter. And that's it.
Then don't forget the Grey Duck Theater.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Once again, Grey Duck Theater, go to greyducktheater.com. It's a micro theater in Rochester, Minnesota. Great place to see movies. And even if you're not in Rochester, check out their website if you're interested to know what you should be watching, especially as indie films go.
Yeah, because it's catered by a movie lover, at least one. I think is it just one?
No, it's Andy, and I'm sure he has a partner in this. I don't think it's just him by himself, but I know he's heading it up.
Yeah. Movie lovers. Yeah. It's always good to see what they're watching.
Oh, it's cool. Yeah. And you can tell by the way they have the whole place set up. It's pretty neat.
Nice.
Very cool.
All right, guys.
All right, boys.
Let's watch this long one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo-hoo.